at 6 o'clock. So we're going to open the May 15th meeting of the East Longmeadow Planning Board. And I'd like to begin by announcing that one of our members, Deb Bushnell, has decided to retire and from the board. And I want to thank her publicly for her time on the board and her time serving as vice chair. She was an asset to the board. I'd also like to welcome our newest member, John Torsha, who has just been appointed by the town manager and has been sworn in, so glad to see him here. Also, before we do anything else, we really need to elect a new vice chair. Do I have
I'd like to nominate Russell Denver.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, congratulations.
Thanks.
Okay, we
You
have...
ran a good campaign.
Yeah.
It was unanimous vote, you know?
Okay, we're going to take care of a couple of things quickly. We have a motion to take out of order the hearing for Jeffrey Lane extension.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Hey, go ahead, Lou, you're a good second guy.
I'll second it.
Okay, we're going to open the public hearing for, before we do that, I have to announce that we are recording this for our minutes, and also LCAT is recording this, and ask if anyone else is recording the meeting. Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a motion to take Jeffrey Lane out of order, so we can get that off the table?
I think we just
We
voted on
just
that.
did that,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, so we're going to open the hearing for Jeffrey Lane, and this will be continued until June 17th, I believe?
June 18th? June
Tuesday.
19th. June 19th.
Yeah, you need to read that
June
in.
19th.
East Longmeadow Planning Board public hearing. The East Longmeadow Planning Board will hold a public hearing on May 15, 2018 at 6 o'clock in the East Longmeadow School Committee Conference Room located in the East Longmeadow High School at 180 Maple Street, East Longmeadow, to consider a request applicant Jeff Bosworth, Southern NE Real Estate Development, Inc., for preliminary subdivision approval of a 3.5 plus or minus acre site located at Jeffrey Lane, Assessor's Parcel ID 40-12, 13-3233 in Residential Zone A District. Information related to this application is on file for public inspection at the East Longmeadow Planning Board's office located at Town Hall, 60 Center Square, and is available for review by the public, regular business hours, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Okay, so the applicant has requested, well, this has to be continued because the ad did not get placed, run in the reminder in time. Okay, it was sent to the reminder, but there was a mix-up there and it did not get run. So we're going to continue this to June 19th. And do we have anything else scheduled for June 19th yet?
Yeah, just one special permit, or, no, I'm sorry, site plan review.
What time is that scheduled for?
There's all 6 o'clock. That's,
So, well, let's do this one.
It'll be first on the agenda because you're continuing it.
Right, do you want it at 6?
But we're not setting times.
We're not setting times, okay.
No, you have a new
Well,
agenda.
you have to, we have to continue to a time and date. Certain.
You can continue to 6 p.m. on June 19th.
Okay, so it's,
Yeah.
do I have a motion to continue this to 6 p.m. on June 19th?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now do I have a motion to take Pioneer Valley Wellness public hearing out of order?
So moved.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'll open the public hearing for Pioneer Valley Wellness at 80 Center Square.
The East Longmeadow Planning Board will hold a public hearing on May 1st. Do you want me to change the date to today?
That was how the ad went.
Just read it.
Okay, May 1st, 2018 at 6:15 in East Longmeadow School Committee Conference Room located in the East Longmeadow High School at 180 Maple Street, East Longmeadow, Mass. On an application filed by Ron Levine, Pediatric Tables, Inc., 86 Myrtle Street, Somersville, Mass. 02145 to revise a special permit originally issued to Pioneer Valley Wellness, Inc., DBA Elements Therapeutic Massage for a change in ownership of the massage therapy establishment located at 80 Center Square, also identified in Assessor's Parcel ID 26-4-0. Information related to this application is on file for the public inspection at the East Longmeadow Planning Board's office located at Town Hall, 60 Center Square, is available for review by the public during regular business hours, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
So this is just a change in ownership. Do we have a motion? Everything else will stay the same on the special permit. Do I have a motion to approve the amendment to the special permit?
I move that.
Do I have a second?
It's a waiver.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, now we can get back on schedule and open our public hearing for site plan review for Meadow Holdings LLC, 105 Somersville Road, doing business as Elm Crest Country Club.
The East Longmeadow Planning Board will hold a public hearing on May 1st, 2018 at 6 p.m. in the East Longmeadow School Conference Room located in East Longmeadow High School, 180 Maple Street, East Longmeadow, Mass. to consider an application for site plan review filed by David Fleury, Meadow Holdings LLC for the use of temporary facilities at Elm Crest Country Club, 105 Somersville Road, East Longmeadow, Mass. also identified as Assessor's Parcel ID 69-12-0. Information related to this application is on file for public inspection at the East Longmeadow Planning Board's office located at Town Hall, 60 Center Square, and is available for review by public during regular business hours, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Okay, so,
Good evening.
good evening.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here. So tell us what you're planning on doing.
You want to start? We go with
Sure. So my name is Rick Morris. I'm with Architecture EL. We prepared the temporary facilities plan that was already submitted, and we have a copy of here. We need to refer to it. We're also working on the construction documents to reconstruct the existing facility that was damaged due to 2 fires. So what we're asking for is a site plan review and approval for temporary facilities, which includes an event tent, temporary restrooms, temporary offices, temporary pro shop, and temporary bag storage. This would allow the facility to operate during the time that we continue with the design documents, work with the insurance company, and get into the construction process.
And this is temporary. How long are you asking for this temporary?
So I would ask for the duration to be through achievement of the CO. I could prognosticate what that might take. I would say, we're looking at a few more months. We're just starting the process of working with the insurance company.
Right.
We haven't started construction documents. That may have a 6-month window. And then, of course, there's probably about 12 months worth of construction. So we're still jockeying to see, based on where we hit the season, what makes sense for our client, to get shovels in the ground. But I would say that we're within probably a 20-month period, 20 to 24 months.
So you're looking for 2 years, basically?
Possibly, yes. Yeah, we hope it will be much less, but
Right. But again, we need to put, if it's temporary, we need to put a time limit on it.
Yes.
And if you can't make the 2 years, you can always come back and ask us for an extension on it.
Right.
Any questions from the board, Russ?
Yeah, can you walk us through where you're gonna site the different
Sure.
temporary structures?
So if you're familiar with the existing facility, there's.
Can you rotate that a little bit so the rest of the room?
Yeah, I
can
didn't want
see?
to blot out the inside.
No, so the
No,
rest
the
of the
other
room.
way.
The other way around.
The other way.
Other way.
Because there's a whole bunch of people here that may want to see this. We have the plans in front of us, so.
Right, okay. My apologies. So, we have the existing parking lot here, which supports parking for about 195 cars, which is over twice as many as we need for temporary operations. This is the existing club that's presently shut down. We're looking to locate a temporary event tent here in Plan North area. And this will be where the primary events take place while the facility is closed. There'll also be a smaller food tent adjoining it. Upon entering the site, along the periphery, we've located temporary offices, additional temporary restrooms, with restrooms at the event tent and also near the offices, temporary pro shop, temporary bag storage. So the majority of operations will be operating along this edge of the parking lot on this side of the site, and then the event tent up in the corner off behind the existing facility.
You want to make them do it again for you?
No, no.
We
I just have a quick question on the food tent. It just seems to be, so what housing is back there along that street line? And all?
Where the food tent is?
Yeah.
There's no housing.
Okay.
You can't see, so everything that we're basically proposing outside of where the pro shop is located, which is coming off the main entry in the main parking lot, is
Yep.
not visible to any outside structure or residents.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about how long this is gonna take. I mean, 24 months is an awful long time. And if we were to go forward to this, I think I'd be more inclined to go with a 12-month approval with a 12-month extension, provided that we see, substantial work. I mean, if you're moving along and doing things on a timely basis, I certainly have no problem, continuing on to make sure you get this thing done. But I wouldn't want to sit here a year from now and say, geez, we really haven't got anything, and nothing's any different now than it was, a year ago. So, I mean, that's probably my biggest concern. Other than that, I think the plan looks fine. I don't think it's going to be, visible to the public any more so than what's already there now, or was there now, and so forth. So that's my biggest concern with this application.
Lou? No, Ty said what I was thinking as well.
John?
Yeah, I share what Tom said.
So the suggestion would be what then?
What I'm thinking about, it's up to the board, of course, but what I'm thinking about is maybe a 12-month approval with the ability to extend, provided that we see substantial work. Progress.
Fair enough.
My quick question is we have the tent back there, the other structures are gonna be basically temporary housing sort of things, trailers?
A trailer, yeah, like a
Yeah.
construction trailer,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah, okay. Do I have open up to the public, any questions or comments from the public on this one? This is Elm Crest Country Club we're talking about. Hearing none, I'll take it back to the board. Any further questions?
Can we have one other point of discussion?
Sure.
Okay. So one of the questions that we've asked of the town, multiple departments, multiple heads, is whether or not, in lieu of a food tent, we can use a food truck. I've had very specific discussions with the health department and Amy, very specific discussions with the building inspector and Kevin. They support the concept, but nobody can give me a clear answer as to whether it's allowed. So the answer I was given was, it seems to be at your disposal as to whether we can be allowed to do that. Amy supports the concept fully as an option for us because it's something that is more self-contained, more securable, certainly easier to sanitize and manage as opposed to a food tent. And I'm not saying that we would 100% do it, but at least the option that if that is the better way to go for us, that at least we have that option available.
I have no issues with that. I think whether it's got wheels on it or it's canvas, it's a temporary kitchen is what it is.
Right.
Correct.
And I agree with you that a food truck is self-contained, it's got its own power. A tent, you're gonna have to run either a generator or power lines over to it, so, yeah, I would have no problem with that.
No.
Okay, do I have a motion at this point to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so hearing is closed. I think we've covered most of what needs to be done here. I'll entertain a motion to approve the site plan for the temporary facilities for a period of 1 year, which can be extended by the planning board, and to allow the use of a food truck instead of a food tent.
So I just want to change that a little bit.
Sure.
So will they be allowed to come in before the 12 months for an extension? Because if you're planning on a new golf season, you might want to come in March rather than come back in May and.
It's a good point. I was just thinking, based
Some
on
type
where
of
we
issue.
are in the season,
Yeah.
you have to think 12 months, and we
Yeah.
won't even have started yet.
Well, and, you know, by that point in time, we'll certainly know where we, certainly by that point in time, we'll know where our, either we'll be finished or hope to be finished, or we'll be nearing the point where we'll have a definite timeline,
So
so.
procedurally, they can come back
Oh, they
earlier.
come back early.
Okay.
In fact, typically you'd want to come back early because you don't want to expire.
Right.
And, you know, if something happens, we can't hold a meeting,
Yep.
you're stuck. So, yeah, no problem with that.
Okay. So I'll
You mean,
move
you
that.
mean, in just in case there was like tornado threats or something like that?
This is the safest place to be in town, believe me. Okay, so your motion, please.
So I'll make a motion to approve the site plan as presented for a period of 12 months with the ability of the planning board to extend it for 12 months as long as there is evidence of progress being made toward reconstruction of the facilities,
And to allow the use of the food truck.
and to allow the use of the food truck.
Do I have a second to that?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion on it? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so now we can go to our 6 o'clock hearing on Hidden Ponds Estates.
The East Longmeadow Planning Board will hold a public hearing on April 17th, 2018 at 6:15 in the East Longmeadow School Committee Conference Room located in East Longmeadow High School at 180 Maple Street, East Longmeadow, Mass. On an application filed by Bedrock Financial LLC, DBA Rosebud Builders, for a definite subdivision plan entitled Hidden Ponds Estates comprised of 20 proposed lots off the end of Redstone Drive, also identified as Assessor's Parcel 23-77-0. Information related to this application is on file with the East Longmeadow Planning Board office located at the Town Hall, 60 Center Square, and available for review by the public during regular business hours.
Good evening. Thanks, sir. I actually had enough. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Good evening. For the record, I'm Rob Levesque from our Levesque Associates. Here this evening representing Al Joyce from Bedrock Financial for the proposed Hidden Pond subdivision. Hidden Pond subdivision is going to be a 20-lot project. The plan you see before you shows Redstone Drive, which comes to an end here. My plan is oriented north. We have the two old quarry ponds within the subject parcel. So the green area is the subject parcel. We're planning on doing a minor extension to Redstone Drive. We're also planning on creating a new subdivision road with a cul-de-sac. It's approximately 1,150 feet long. We've submitted a preliminary plan. I believe that was about 6 or 8 months ago, maybe in the fall. At which time the plan was submitted. It was 20 lots at that point. There's been some minor revisions to the plans. Generally speaking, they're what you saw last fall. That said, we've selected 2 areas within the proposed project grounds for the handling of stormwater. One is a infiltration basin that's located between Lot 4 and Lot 3 on your plan. And the other is going to be a bioretention basin within the cul-de-sac at the end of Redstone Drive. There's an outlet that runs into the buffer zone on Redstone Drive, and there's an outlet that from the infiltration basin that runs to the back of Lot 4, where there's a swale that runs along the back of the properties on Harwich Drive. We filed the notice of intent with the Conservation Commission. That notice of intent was issued in order of conditions already, so we do have an order. Mr. Joyce has that in his possession. The 10-day appeal period has lapsed on that, so we're beyond the conservation aspects of things. That said, there was a peer review by Russo Associates, your town review, peer review engineer. We worked specifically with Tim Kuhn in his office and Philippe Cravo in our office to resolve some of the minor questions that Russo had. One of the questions was related to the bioretention basin early on, which has been resolved. They understand why we have it where we have it. They understand that there's not another option for that, so that discussion happened the other day. So where we find ourselves this evening is we actually have gone back and forth with Russo Associates, the peer review engineer. We think we're all on the same page. We had some minor housekeeping items to take care of. There was an adjustment to the profile where we needed to provide a little bit more cover on the road. There was the question about the bioretention basin, and then there was a number of little details on the plans that they wanted just some line work changed and some other stuff. I do have a letter from Russo Associates that I can go through if you so choose, but we will likely be requesting a continuance so that at the next public hearing we can address, we would have addressed all of those items with a new set of plans, provide that information to the planning board at that time, which would be, I'm assuming that list would either be maybe 1 or 2 items or completely eliminated. Arguably, we've addressed everything and are on the same page with the peer review engineer. What I've given you tonight is just an update to the waiver request letter. At the preliminary level, there were some waivers that were requested. This is another list just to clarify the waivers that we are currently requesting. Tonight, we would hope to accomplish a vote on the waivers so that we could go away and that any changes needed to be made prior to the next public hearing could be made. So if you'd like, I can read that, or if I don't know if the chair would like to read the waiver requests.
Before we get into the waivers, okay, I'd like to open up the board for general questions about the subdivision plan. Russ?
So take me from Elm Street.
So this is Redstone Drive here.
Okay.
So you're coming this way on Redstone.
So
This is the end
orient,
of Redstone Drive, right about here.
orient me on Elm Street. So where,
Next to Graziano Gardens.
Yeah.
thank you.
You're taking a
Because I went
left.
looking for it over the weekend and I quite honestly couldn't find it.
Okay, so you're taking a left before Graziano.
Okay. So immediately before?
Yeah. Immediately
Main
before.
Street.
Yeah, okay,
Yep.
okay.
This is tucked back way at the end of Redstone Drive. This is all wooded. Right now, this was a quarry. It's my understanding that it was used for recreation for a period of time. There's a diving board approximately in here. It is fenced in now, and it's been maintained by the homeowner or the property owner. They've kind of policed the area because there has been folks that have tried to get in. It's a pretty interesting place for kids to probably get into. So they've, right now, I would say there's a gravel access road through the middle here, and the rest of it is vegetated other than the ponds.
How long has it been fenced?
Oh, I would say certainly decades. I don't know if it's since,
1965,
okay, 1965.
And what is the,
4,600 foot industrial grade chain link fence.
and what is the current condition of Maynard?
The current condition.
Because you're gonna add 20
Of
houses.
Redstone?
Yeah, I mean, of the actual pavement, and is there curbing, is there, I mean,
We didn't do a thorough examination of the rest of Redstone and the streets leading to it. We didn't find anything on the way in the widths, and my understanding is, based on our review with DPW and engineering as well as the peer review, that was not raised as a concern. There was some talk about how we're handling the water on the way in to our subdivision right about here. We're actually changing the profile of the road. That was one of the items that we're changing. We were coming in and bringing the grade up a little bit and then dropping down, and they requested that we adjust that so the water comes into our subdivision, so there won't be any potential for water that's not draining right from the existing roadway. But generally speaking, my understanding is there was no issues or questions raised about the condition of the streets leading to the subdivision.
and did DPW or police during that meeting question the additional load of traffic?
They did not.
That it could handle it?
They did not. And typically, you're going to see approximately 10 vehicle trips per day per single-family home. Gives you an idea of how many new trips you would have.
200 additional trips?
Yep.
School buses?
Yep, and then the peak hour, we've seen calculations where the peak hour is you spread those trips out over the peak hour, and, you're seeing somewhere in the neighborhood of, 1 car per every 3 minutes. So it typically doesn't trigger any, change to any level of service in the surrounding intersections. You don't have a signalized intersection in that vicinity. You're coming out onto Elm. So.
If I may, my name is Al Joyce, I'm the petitioner. If I could add something in response to your question.
Sure.
Because we met with the fire department, we met with DPW, we met with the police department to go over the subdivision twice with questions just like that, what's the current condition? And right now, from this section on out is private. It hasn't been accepted. It ends just at, there is no cul-de-sac at the end. The road just stops. So right now, any emergency vehicles, if fire does have to go down and the police have to go down, is very hard for a large vehicle to turn around. So when we showed them that we were adding a cul-de-sac that's large enough for the fire trucks to turn around, they were actually pretty pleased with what we were doing with the existing road. The other thing that we're doing is right now, sewer goes down the street. The sewer wasn't added all that long ago. And for some of the residents who had the sewer added, that might have been a bit of a negative, because then you got a big sewer bill whether you use the sewer or not. Right now, the water main stops about 700 feet prior to the end of the road. And the last fire hydrant is 700 feet prior to the end of the road. When we put in the cul-de-sac, we're going to extend the water service from 700 feet away to the end of the cul-de-sac, and we're going to add a hydrant. So the fire department was very pleased about what we were doing there. And just so for any of the neighbors who would have the water service going down, you don't get a bill when we put in the water service. If the town was putting in the water service, I don't know what would happen. But when we put in the water service, that allows anyone who doesn't have access to water, that allows you to connect to the water main.
Thank you. Anything else on this? We can come back to you. We can come back to you.
No, so, what's the do you anticipate any deed restrictions on each individual lot?
The only deed restrictions that I am envisioning would be related to conservation. A lot of the parcels will have frontage on the pond, and even though it's a man-made pond, conservation doesn't care that it was man-made. All that conservation cares right now is that this is a pond that's under their jurisdiction. So we're gonna meet with conservation to discuss all of these lots, and the majority of the 15 out of the 20 lots will be under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, and they're going to let us know how close we can come to the pond and what kind of a buffer area we maintain. So that was the only. Was there any other deed restriction you were thinking of?
Size of building?
Oh, well, it would be. I'm probably going to be the builder on most of the lots, so I can do what I want. And I don't believe in making restrictions like that. Even though we're anticipating, I've been building in the town for about 30 years now, and all I build are 4-bedroom homes. So I would anticipate that the homes we build would be in the 2,500 square foot range, and most of them will be 4 bedrooms. One of the reasons that we're excited about living here is it is going to give people access to these ponds. They haven't had access to the ponds for many, many years. For people who aren't familiar with it, I tried to, they don't come out very good, but the Historical Commission does have a lot of information on this. This is a picture that actually shows going back to, this was taken in 1959, where this was it was a town-run swimming hole, and it shows
Correction.
Oh, okay, it might have been private.
It was private.
Thank you. Okay, it was a privately run. Mr. Lindner would be able to correct me on that as well. He was involved, or his parents were involved with that. But this shows pictures of the neighbors, the neighborhood people who would go there and swim. It's my understanding that there's an existing, I do know there's an existing house on the property. The back of the house was used so that when they could sell hot dogs and hamburgers to the people who were swimming in the pond. The East Longmeadow electrical inspector was just at my house. His name is Ed Legou. He's 77 years old, and he said that 60 years ago they went to visit this pond as often as they could. And now, okay, all right.
Lou, any questions? Well, I was just thinking about drainage and water, because those ponds retain a lot of water. But like for the abutters, like, are they gonna be impacted by, you know, the lots being built and runoff?
That's a good question. So the stormwater basins that we have on site are designed to handle up to and including the 100-year storm. So the basins are designed per the DEP stormwater management standards that came out in 2008. They have been reviewed by your peer review engineer. There was no specific questions related to the calculations or any concerns that way. One of the questions was related to the location of this, but we've since resolved that. They understand why it needs to go where it is. The two ponds themselves, we actually looked at, we've included them in our analysis of the site to understand that if we do get major storm events, what happens to those ponds. So that has also been incorporated into what we've provided, and we made sure that this roadway here and the design of the stormwater basin is all taking that into consideration. So that's all been looked at, that's all been reviewed by your peer review engineer, and I think we're all on the same page, and should be good.
John?
Trying to envision, is this sort of a leveled area? I live nearby it, but I don't know this region in particular.
So, give you a general feel, so you drive in and it drops a little bit. There's an existing kind of dirt road, call it a farm road, that comes in, it drops a little bit, there's kind of a low point, and then it comes back up very subtly. There's a field over here, and then you get to the back, and it climbs, and there's some piles, not piles, but there's some kind of hilly topography here, basically as a result of some of the excavation of the ponds, the quarry operation themselves. So there's some slag, and then there's a drop-off right here. It's very difficult probably for you to see, but there's some really tight contours over here, and the grade does drop to that side. And at the toe of that slope, there's a wetland resource area that we've flagged, and we've submitted our information to the Conservation Commission associated with that.
I was also just curious, I didn't see it on the map, but there's a house at the far end of Dearborn Street, which is sort of perpendicular to Harwich, and I didn't know how close that house would be to this new development, because it's sort of off the beaten path a little bit.
Okay.
It's like 120 something.
So there's a pretty significant wetland resource area between that house and what we're doing here.
It's not right on.
And then in addition to this wetland resource area that extends off-site, there's also a buffer zone associated with that we're required to stay away from. So probably if you're talking about this area.
It's probably the south of the map right there.
So this is Harwich here.
Yep, it's lower than that.
You're thinking down here?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Okay, so there's also another wetland resource area?
Oh, okay, so it's...
The nice thing is, there should be a pretty good buffer from everybody for the surrounding neighborhood, because of those wetland resource area setbacks. Thanks.
Ty?
Do we have a letter, or can you provide us a letter with the comments from the peer review engineer that you met with?
I believe you guys should have it, and I do have a draft response if you wanted to go through the details. I was thinking that because we are still resolving the items, that most of them will probably be addressed.
Okay.
But if you wanted to go through it now.
Well, you're gonna be continued anyway, so
Exactly.
why don't I just review it, and then when, in 2 weeks or 4 weeks, whenever we see you again, we can go, if I have any comments on there, we can talk about it then.
You have a copy of that, right, Connie? So,
It's actually in your packet.
it is in the
Marked
package. It is in the package, okay.
Okay.
Good. Anything else, John?
No, not for now.
Okay, I've got, a number of concerns, some of them fairly major. Minor one is, I know we talked about the fact that you may be putting gas in there. I would hope that that line would be shown as a potential utility on the plan. My biggest concern is that the notice of intent, the order of conditions that was issued is strictly for the road. So each lot will have to go before conservation separately. It's not clear from the way this is presented how much upland is on each lot. We're given the total square footage of each lot, but some of these lots have a substantial part of their area underwater. And lot is defined in our bylaw. It excludes the area of lands underwater or actual wetlands. So it's not really possible to tell without doing a lot of our own jiggling around with things on here, whether or not all of the lots actually meet the requirements for Residence A. Okay, so I would like to see the actual square footage of each lot without the ponds or any flagged wetlands on them.
Okay.
The other concern I have is some of these lots are not buildable unless they're within, the house is within 50 feet of the wetland. And I know that conservation in the past, there's a 100-foot buffer zone. And conservation in the past has required a 50 feet of that to be undisturbed. Lot 15, for instance, if you, or actually lot 14, if you have a 50-foot zoning setback and then 50 feet to the pond, there's really no place to put a house.
Is it possible to take these one item at a time?
Sure.
It would just be easier to respond. So I can give you the actual square footage of each lot, excluding the pond.
You have that, okay.
No, I can give that.
You can get that
I
to
don't
us,
have it
okay,
with me.
yeah.
I'll get that to you before the next meeting, make sure that you have all those calculations. As far as the roadway itself and the conservation filing, we did that by design because when you do a project like this, as you're aware, we don't want one order of conditions for all of the lots
I
because,
understand why it was
as they're
done.
built. So ideally, we have one order of conditions for each lot. Yes, we are within certain distance of the resource areas. We are aware of the bylaw. We're aware of the Wetlands Protection Act. Conservation did approve this plan. They do know that we're coming back, and we will be coming back for individual notices of intent. The applicant is certainly aware, and we'll address those questions and concerns at that time. So each of these lots does have a significant amount of buildable area outside of the 50-foot buffer, which is arguably the kind of the no-touch zone, if you will. And we would expect that we would be able to get a building footprint on all of these lots, subject to the review from the Conservation Commission. So we're certainly going to do that.
My measurements don't indicate that. Lots 14 and 15, I don't see how you're going to get, with the 50-foot setback from the road, how you're going to squeeze a house in there. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, we can show you.
I would like to see that. Likewise, lots 11 and 12, you've got like a 7-foot cliff there. You can't put the house between that rise and the road. And then on the top of the cliff, you're...
So just back, I'm sorry, could you back up? So lot 7,
11 and 12.
11 and 12, right here.
Yeah.
I don't have a cliff there, no, I'm not sure.
You've got a 7-foot drop from 220 to...
Are you looking at the proposed contours?
Yeah, I'm looking at sheet numbers, the permitting, C3,
Yeah.
okay?
So what you're looking at is the grading for the roadway, and we're
Yeah.
just showing conceptual grading along the front. As you can imagine, those would be walkout lots, and those are ideal for walkout lots.
Well, it's gone from 227 actually down to 220, okay?
Again, about 8-foot, 9-foot,
Yeah.
10-foot basements,
Yeah.
so that would be ideal. So the back of the lot would be left untouched. The front of the lot would be filled as we're showing, and then we would have a walk, likely, and this is up to Mr. Joyce, so you can obviously bring fill in if you'd like, but these are very ideal for walkouts.
Okay, it's just troubling, particularly on the lots where almost the entire lot is within the buffer zone of the lake. So I'd like to see that addressed. The other issue I'd like to see addressed is fencing of the ponds. Okay, these are not walk-in lakes. These are quarries that drop off as much as 50 feet at the shoreline. We normally would require a 4-foot deep swimming pool to either have a fence around it or to have a removable ladder if it's above ground. Here, you're talking up to 50 feet or maybe even more right at the edge. And to have that in the backyards of houses that are probably going to have kids in them, to me, that's a public safety issue.
So can I speak to these
Sure.
issues being conservation-related issues?
Yeah.
So, as you're
Well,
aware.
this is a public safety, it's not conservation.
But it is a conservation issue when you're talking about fencing the edge of
Yeah.
a wetland resource area,
Yeah.
which this arguably is. Anything over 10,000 square feet,
Right.
as you're aware, is regulated as a pond, has bank resource area, has land underwater.
Right.
So the Conservation Commission is not going to want you to fence the edge of the pond. If you were at the edge of Congamon or Otis Reservoir or some of these other places, you wouldn't fence the edge of the pond. It's a natural feature. If there were specific requirements from the insurance companies for these homeowners, then maybe that would be something different. I'm sure Mr. Joyce can look into that, but these are not man-made basins.
They are man-made basins.
Well, they're quarry ponds,
Yeah.
but now they're wetland resource areas.
Right, but the point is, they're not like Congamon Lake where you can wade into them, okay? It drops off very, very steeply. Please, Mr. Lindner, yes?
With respect to the integrity of the planning board,
Yeah.
I would like to state that there is no place on the property where there is a 50-foot drop into the water or a 50-foot depth at the edge of any part of either of the lakes.
Well, that was what Mr. Joyce told us when we walked the property,
That was not true.
okay? But they are quarries, they do drop off sharply.
In a
Okay.
few places.
In a few
There
places.
is no 50-foot drop at any point on either quarry.
Okay, thank you.
We did have police and fire in the meeting with us. Neither police or fire had any specific concerns related, and I haven't heard otherwise, but haven't had any specific concerns related to the ponds.
Well, I have concerns related to the public safety aspect of the pond, and I want to make that known.
Okay, as far as the distance from the ponds that we've discussed, can we agree that that's a conservation issue?
Oh, that's definitely a conservation
Okay.
issue. Okay. But the fencing is a public safety issue. It's something I may have to take up with the health department to find out if there are any specific rules or regulations, because this is more like a swimming pool than it is like a walk-in lake, I mean, quite frankly. And swimming pools...
There is a diving board.
Yeah, I know. And you can't dive into 2 feet of water. We all know that. So, it
I would
is...
be surprised, to be honest with you, if there's any requirements, because then you would have to fence off Otis Reservoir, and you'd have to fence
No,
off...
Otis gently goes into the water.
But regardless of the natural feature, there's no specific requirements that we're aware of, but maybe there is, so we'll, certainly if there's a requirement, but I would expect, and the applicant has no interest in fencing those off. If the homeowners decide that they want to do that because they have children, if they were to, and, just like if you were to put a pool in, if you had specific concerns, they could certainly fence off their yards, but I would expect that the Conservation Commission would have concern with the proximity of any fences to the edge of the pond.
Well, if the fences were erected at the limit of work line, which the Conservation Commission will establish, they would not be at the edge of the pond and
That is correct.
would still be effective. And would in fact take care of what they typically require in terms of monumentation of limit of work line.
So the Conservation Commission, just so we're clear, didn't raise any of these specific concerns. We did get an order of conditions on the proposed subdivision. They were the same
Right,
lots that
the
you're
order of
seeing.
conditions was issued and it was specifically for the road. Okay.
Correct.
And
So the lot
I know why
plans-
it was done that way, and I have no problem with it being done that way. It's the right way to do it, okay? But I'm concerned that people are gonna buy the lots and then go in and plead, we've got a hardship because the lot's too small. We have to go into the buffer zone.
Sure, we'll certainly address any items that come up from the Board of Health and any specific regulations that you...
Okay, well, I'm just letting you know my concerns so that you can address those at the continuation of the hearing,
Absolutely, thank you.
okay? At this point, I'll open it up to the public. If anyone wishes to speak or ask a question, please identify yourself by name and address. And if you can come up to this microphone, it
I'm
would
Alice
help.
Whitmer, and I live at 81 Harwich Road, which is the last house at the end of Harwich Road. I have an easement in my backyard, and then on the second lot, it goes uphill and around for the easement. But the water will flow down to the easement and then back on my private property, across the lot and into the swamp and the house on the other side of the street. And I want to know whether or not that's legal.
You address that?
Yep, so ma'am, if I could, do you live here? Yeah, okay,
Yes,
right here.
no, I live with the house. Two lots are mine, and then my house is down.
Okay, so we have a stormwater basin that's proposed here. It's an infiltration basin. This is the way that the stormwater requirements work. Anything that's coming off of the lot now, pre-development, before it's developed, has to be compensated for and cannot be increased post-development. So the reason that you'll see these stormwater basins in these projects is so that the water can be detained or held back and metered out slowly at the same rate it was going before. So any of the sheet flow or water that was sheet flowing off of the property before, at this design point, cannot be increased.
We never
So-
had water coming off of the property before, except at the far end.
Well, then you won't.
And that was controlled by Mr. Lindner when they had too much water. They opened a gate and it went into Sherlock Brook or whatever it is in the back there.
So there are
But my
conservative.
land used to be dry. Right now, the water level is at the maximum, and that spot is always wet, and I always have it running along between my lots. I
There's an
wanna know
existing swale
why,
and wetland here.
why can't you put that catch basin on lot number 8, which is way up in the back, and there's no people around it?
Well, lot number 8 is the highest point on this site. The water flows.
It's not really a high point. It's not really a high point. That land is basically level. They used to use it as a road to get back and forth in order to put the red stone that they didn't want. There is a high point on the land where they had filled through the years, but that's not really where the road is.
So, so to answer your questions, first of all, through the chair, that's okay?
Please.
There is a swale along the back of the properties. It runs to a bordering I call it bordering
No, it
vegetation.
doesn't.
It's a-
Yes, that's where it runs, but it's too high up, so the water can't run that way.
So it
The
does.
water
so-
only runs,
Ma'am, if I could? Thank you. So what happens is the water that currently flows to this area will continue to flow to that area. We'll detain it because we're adding impervious surfaces. We have to handle that water. So there's very conservative calculations that are done. There's a program called HydroCAD that our engineers go through, and they design the basin very conservatively to meter out the water at the same rate. That said, your discussion of the difference in topography, just so we're clear, down here I'm at an elevation of 215. Up here I'm at 226, okay? So call it 11 feet from here to here, and that's with the grade being cut down. The existing grade up here is there's elevations of 236 and 243. So obviously the water has to flow downhill naturally, and we can't change the existing drainage patterns, generally speaking. We're trying to match pre-development drainage patterns and post-development. That's why we have a system here and a system here, because the water currently flows this way, and we're picking it up, detaining it before it runs off, as it does now.
and through the years, when there's nobody to maintain it, then what'll we do?
These will be maintained, they're required to be maintained. There's a
For how
construction.
many years?
In perpetuity. There's a construction phase operation and maintenance plan as part of our stormwater report. There's also an ongoing operation and maintenance plan for the system that talks very specifically, has specifications about management of the system, which includes maintenance of the actual basins, cleaning out of the structures, and cleaning out of the water quality units as well. So there's water quality controls and there's flow controls built into this.
There's so much land that has nobody abutting. I really don't see why you couldn't come up with a better plan.
Thank you. Other comments?
Phil Rosa, Harwich Road. I'm also in a butter. As far as I'm concerned, our other neighbors are concerned, those that are our butters, this project adds no value to our homes. We have water back there, we have had water back there forever. I don't envision, I know this retention area is also behind two homes, which will now have some water being kept immediately abutting them. Those two homes, their value is not going to increase, having that in their backyard. Will it be maintained? We all know the issues the town has gone through retaining these retention areas. That's a gray matter. It's certainly not black and white. In writing it is, but the day-to-day operation is not. With this project going forward, I understand Mr. Linder's got to do some of this project. I wish some wealthy person would come in, put one home and have a beautiful facility, or the town would buy it from Mr. Linder. That would be a great thing. But as is today, it adds no value. Those of us who have lived there forever, and my parents built in 1960 in the home my wife and I live in today, there's always been water to the rear of our home. I walked the other day with Miss Alice, who just spoke. She has lots of water to the rear of her property and then running off and away from her property. It all came from above. And it's been this way for years. So my point to you, the board, great to have 20 new homes in town, that would be great. But you're devaluating 7 lots here. You're not adding value to them. Again, Alice, and my number comes from Alice, she has 2 additional lots that maybe someday she hopes to sell. It won't be sellable. So there is no value being added, and I wish for you to consider that, and hopefully some millionaire comes along and buys it and puts a beautiful home there. Thank you. And George, excuse me, George, but I understand the whole concerns of this pond being safe from people. That's only common sense. It is a quarry, and it's dangerous to little people and the animals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Sir?
Steve Varela's 20 Redstone Drive. My concern is with the increased traffic on that's when we come into the street with 20 lots. You're talking probably minimum 35, 40 more vehicles per, most of us have 2 vehicles per household now. Raising 2 kids there, thank God they're out of the house now, but there's a lot of small children on the street. The bus stop is at the corner of Maynard and Elm. You have a large Graciano Gardens landscaping business, trucks turning in and off the road there. I don't know if there's consideration if they're going to run the buses down the street. The street is not that big, but that's a big concern for us. I don't know if there's any outlet in the land that they can go out and bring another street in somewhere to alleviate the traffic on Redstone and Maynard.
There's really no other access than through Maynard. We explored, we asked them to consider doing a back door through Harwich, and that was not feasible. So there's really no other way in there, unfortunately, because of all the wetlands in the area.
Okay. And one other concern on this drainage down here. Are you going to change the grade of the road? No, because I have on my lot a drainage system that doesn't work. So I basically have all the water that comes down the street that dumps into my side yard, flows down, floods my way down the back.
I actually could clarify. When I said no, we're not changing the drainage. We are adding some area drains to the side of the street.
So I guess if I call the DPW to have them come clean that drainage out, maybe they can tie something in here where they can fix that, where the water would just flow into their new drainage area?
No, they're calculating their drainage for the roads that they're putting in, and it will not handle additional drainage if the rest of the street was to be regraded, to push water that way.
I mean, the water goes that way anyway.
Yeah,
My area fills up with sand and leaves, and the water just goes to the other street and gathers in the road. It's a big puddle. So I would hope that that would alleviate some of that problem. If they had, like you said, drainage here and here.
Thank you. Other comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll take it back to the board. I do have one additional question I'd like to get clarified. My understanding is that there is, in fact, no outlets to either of the pond right now. Is that correct?
You're talking about the quarry ponds?
The quarry ponds, yeah.
By definition, there's an overflow, I would call it. The topography in this area
Yeah,
is low and there's kind of a swale.
okay,
But in terms of an outlet control structure, I would
Yeah.
say no.
no. When we were out there, we saw that the northerly pond was in fact overflowing across the dirt road.
In the middle.
No, at the top northerly end. The northerly pond was actually higher than the southerly pond.
No,
Okay, which was surprising.
that is surprising.
Yeah, and,
By a lot?
yeah, maybe by a foot.
And was it measured? Because that seems odd, but
Well, we couldn't walk through the chair, we couldn't walk through without proper attire.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, it just seems odd,
It was
but yeah.
overflowing the road at the north end,
okay.
okay, and,
Right here.
right there, yeah.
Okay,
And into the wetlands, okay, on the far side,
that would be logical.
yeah. But I just want to clarify, there is no outlet structure per se, there's no culvert between the two of them.
Is there a culvert that would be buried between the two of them that you're aware of?
No, there isn't.
No. So it's all, basically, mostly it's infiltration into groundwater.
Well, I don't know how much
That we can
infiltration
call-
you're getting in
Spring
the
fed.
quarry, but yeah.
What?
It's spring fed.
Yeah. But when you get a rain like tonight, I'm sure the water level goes up because there's no place for it to go.
The water level has gone up this year fairly high because of all the snow and the rain we had. When you have a winter like that, the water level will come up
Yeah.
and you're gonna experience it, the neighbors are gonna experience it.
Okay.
They always have since they moved in.
Okay. And I'd like to clarify, you are not going to loop the water, is that correct?
The water line, we're not planning to loop the water. We did, in our last couple of meetings with DPW, that was not requested.
Okay. Shall we go through do you have any other questions from the board? Shall we go through the waivers requests, one at a time?
Why would we go through the waiver list if we've asked them a number of questions and they're gonna come back with?
Okay, you want to hold off on this until?
Well, can I clarify the request?
Yeah.
So the reason that we would like the waivers voted on this evening, if there, for some reason, are waivers that are not granted, or it could potentially change the set we come back with, we'd like to make sure that we know that, kind of get a buy-in on the waivers. That way we can, at the next meeting, we'll be more efficient and would, probably even prevent an additional meeting after the next if something were to change. So I think it's just an efficiency thing, if possible.
And I think he's got a point there. Let's go through them and at least discuss them, and we can vote on them if we feel like it. The first one is a waiver of the East Longmeadow rules and regulations for the submission of plans, petitions and plans of subdivision, section 5.3, for the scale of 1 inch equals 40 feet. Can you explain that waiver?
Yeah, it's just based on how the drawings fit on, given the shape and size of the, of the project site, to fit them onto the right sheets and at the right scales. Sometimes it's a little different. You might have most of it fitting, so 85% fits and 15's off the sheet. So it's just basically just a presentation request.
Well, a bunch of these are at 1 to 40 scale, and it's only certain sheets that are not.
That is correct.
Okay. So,
Anywhere we could meet the requirement, we certainly did.
so which sheets are you asking us to waive?
I don't have a list in my head, but I could do my best here. So all of the detail sheets are obviously not the same. Our subdivision layout is at 40 scale, probably the most important. Our existing conditions plans are at 40 scale. 2 note sheets are not to scale. C3 is at a scale of 1 inch equals 60, so that would be one of the sheets we're requesting the waiver for. And as you can see, it just allows it to fit on one sheet. It's easier to present that way. We're 1 to 50 on the profile just, for sheet C4, which just fits a little bit better. Sheet C5 is also 1 to 50. the rest are detail sheets. There, on sheet C7, we have a detail of the cul-de-sac and also a couple other details. So that is 1 to 20 scale, just obviously provide the blow-up with detail.
So, can I have a motion to waive the scale requirement for sheets 3, 4, C3, 4, and 5?
So, before we take
Yeah.
a vote, could you explain to the public that's here what the impact of these waivers are going to be, given that we will have an additional hearing?
Yeah.
I mean, that no decision is literally being made tonight.
Well, we're being asked to waive certain requirements, okay, so that they can come up with a final set of plans for the continued hearing. Without our actually granting the waivers, they cannot come back with a set of plans that they have confidence in our accepting, okay? So by going through and deciding which of these waivers which to grant, it gives them the ability then to come in with the final plan. And that's why we're doing it this way, okay? So do I have a motion to waive the scale requirements on sheets 3, 4, and 5?
I'll move that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion on that? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I believe there may be a scale on D1 that's, I think it's D1. I don't know if you have a small set. I think there's a 20 scale blow up. I don't know if you're considering the details needing to be at 40 scale as well, but.
No, a 20 scale is better than a 40 scale.
Right, exactly.
Okay. The reason for the scale thing is to make sure the plans are big enough that we can see what they're talking about. Because if you make it on a really small plan, it's impossible to read. So that's why the requirements are there. Second one is a request for a waiver of the rules and regulations, section 5.312, for the contents of submittal requirements, specifically the names of the abutters. Why are we asking for a waiver on that? Since the abutters need to be notified anyway.
Well, the abutters were notified through the town. We just are providing, if you look at the parcels.
And you've got the abutters on here, so why are you asking for a waiver, I guess?
I think our concern was that for some reason, an abutter changed, that we would want to make sure that we weren't seen as a deficiency. But we do have them.
I've never been asked for a waiver of that one before. And since we're required to notify all the abutters, I don't see that really is something, I mean, you've got the abutters' names, because they have to be notified.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see.
And they're on the plans.
I don't see the need for that
Okay.
at all, unless someone wants to move it.
No, I agree.
Okay, we already talked about the plan and profile of horizontal scale 1 to 40, and that one we already.
Point of
went.
order, you might want to vote not to approve this request.
Okay,
I move not to accept number 2.
have a second?
I'll second it,
All those in favor of not waiving number 2?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Number 3, plan and profile, I thought we just already voted on that, right? That's 3 and 4, that's C4 and C5, so that's already been waived. Number 4, they're asking for a waiver of the roadway requirement from 60 feet to 50 feet, and the right-of-way requirement from 30 feet to 24 feet. And this has been run by both the police and the fire. They feel that 24 feet is sufficient access.
I think ours is one. I
We
think
did
this,
discuss this, we haven't waived it, yeah.
I'll move to waive number 4.
I have a second on that.
could I just clarify? I think
Let me get a second first.
Okay, sorry.
Can I get a second? Somebody?
I'll second it.
Okay.
I think we have it messed up on ours, on how we wrote it.
Is it 28?
I think it would be 20, so the right-of-way width would be 60 to 50. The actual roadway width would be 30 to 24. I think we have it spun.
No, that's what it says here.
That's, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, you're
yeah,
right,
yeah,
okay.
you got it backwards.
Yeah,
Okay,
so we're requesting, just to clarify, we're requesting that the roadway be 24 feet as opposed to
Yeah,
30.
you can have right,
I think
right away
we,
this way.
yeah, we spun it, yeah,
right away.
I was just noticing that, yeah.
Okay, that's our error, yeah.
Okay, so 30 to 24 for the roadway width,
Yeah.
and right away 60 to 50.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
okay,
I'll move to accept that as amended.
okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous, okay, so that's granted. Five is a request for a waiver of the requirement for the installation of sidewalks on one side of the street within the subdivision and cul-de-sac extension. Okay, let's get a, well, I personally am opposed to that. I think the sidewalks are important, and given the length of the cul-de-sac, the sidewalks are extra important. They, first of all, at some point in the future, I don't know exactly when, there could well be a sidewalk going down from Redstone to Elm Street, because that's where the school buses go. And that's one of the priorities in town, is to get the kids to the school buses on sidewalks. I also know from personal experience that putting in sidewalks is, really encourages people to get out and walk around the neighborhood, get to know their neighbors, and it really is a positive to a subdivision to have those in there. So I personally am not in favor of waiving that. And if anyone else has comments on that,
I have a comment.
please.
There's no sidewalk on Elm Street?
So the hearing's closed, Mr. Chairman.
No, the hearing is not closed. The hearing is not closed. Because we're going to
So,
continue it.
as a former member of the Appropriations Committee, we were asked every single year by the school committee to invest $100,000 a year into sidewalks, so that the town would be a more walkable place, and as George mentioned, that we could reduce the amount of busing required, which costs this town almost $1 million a year. So whenever we have an opportunity to get a set of sidewalks in, I'm gonna vote for it.
So they could basically walk.
Excuse me, sir.
I gave you my
We're-
reason.
We're discussing among the board right now.
Sorry?
Okay. So do I have a motion to not grant the waiver?
Could
No,
ask a question?
I'll have to,
I'm sorry. Through the chair, if I could ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Does the town have a fund? I know some towns have funds for sidewalks where, because what we're requesting a waiver of is sidewalks on one side of the street.
Right.
So we would obviously put them in on the other side. We found on our projects, and Mr. Joyce could probably speak to this, but we found in our projects, some people absolutely don't want sidewalks in front of them because it's a burden for them. If they're elderly folk, they don't want to shovel the sidewalks and maintain them. So a lot of times in the subdivisions, the side of the street, believe it or not, without the sidewalk will sell first, or those lots will go first. If there was a fund, maybe there's a better place to spend the money that's gonna go onto the other side of the street.
Okay, let me clarify. You're asking for a waiver of only one side, none of...
That is correct.
none of the
So we were
side-
thinking, we think
Okay.
it's a good idea
The
for
way
one
it's
side.
written, it's
I think the way
misleading.
the way you worded it
Yeah.
was, I didn't even understand the
Yeah.
way you worded it. In
It's
all of the
misleading.
subdivisions,
Yeah.
there's a sidewalk just on one side,
Yeah.
and we're okay with that.
So that was
And I
very
think that's
misleading.
what all the board wants is, but I think
Is
the
that all?
way,
Yeah, so I apologize, so.
Okay, and let me just double check the subdivision rules and regulations. This is section 7.25.
Because we do have them proposed.
Remind myself how this is exactly worded. Okay. 7.4.
It's either on one or both sides.
So just to clarify for the board, we do have sidewalks along the edge of this
Okay.
side of the road, all the way around the cul-de-sac to this point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just trying to, I want to remind myself what the actual wording is here as to whether or not a waiver is needed. don't have these. Okay, sidewalks shall be required. Sidewalks may be placed on one or both sides of the street at a width determined by the planning board based on location, need for street pedestrian, etc. And the, goes on to talk about what the sidewalk should look like. So already, you can have it on either one or both sides. You don't need a waiver for that. Okay.
So to clarify then, we would like to withdraw that waiver request. And we will be showing them as on the plan on one side of the street.
And that's what's allowed under the regulations. Okay. Sixth, a waiver of the rules and regulations that a fence shall not be required around the stormwater basin.
So these basins are at, so this, first of all, this is a bioretention basin. It's literally about a foot deep, a little bit, maybe just a little bit more. So just a subtle depression within the cul-de-sac.
And vegetated.
And vegetated, correct. So we would think that that wouldn't make any sense there. In this particular case, this is an infiltration basin. There's a depth, just to give you a reference, of about 5 feet for the basin. The side slopes are at 3 to 1. So that's a mowable slope, so up 1 over 3. So it's, something like this. We understand the concern. We've had folks go both ways with how they feel about it, so certainly a point of discussion.
How does the board feel about waiving the fence requirement here? Anybody?
I'm not really too concerned about it.
Russ?
I'm not in favor of it.
Not in favor of waiving it.
Right.
Lou, any thoughts?
Maybe on one, but not the other.
On the...
Yeah, the smaller one is
The
fine.
smaller one is fine, with the larger one. John?
I share the sentiment of Russell.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve this waiver only for the bioretention basin and not for the stormwater basin?
I'll move that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? All those in favor of requiring it around the large basin but not around the retention basin, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. So we will require it around the larger one but not the smaller one. Finally, a waiver of the rules and regulations for the maximum length of the cul-de-sac of 900 feet. And this is what we discussed under the preliminary, that neither police nor fire has a problem with this. And the whole purpose of limiting a cul-de-sac is primarily to allow for emergency vehicles to get in there. If they feel they're happy with it, I'm happy with it. So a motion to grant the waiver requested under number 7.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So, you see where we stand on the waivers, okay?
Thank you.
Point of order, you would like to have those on your plan?
I'm sorry?
Like to list the waivers that have been approved?
Put them on the plan.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, entertain a motion at this point to continue the public hearing to June 17th? 19th? June 19th at 6 p.m.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll work on your concerns with the Board of Health.
Okay, I will also talk to Amy about it.
So just a point of
Yeah.
order for Connie. So, there was a number of references to the preliminary meeting, like with police and fire and so forth. Are we going to receive a recap of those comments in writing before we have a hearing, so we can kind of understand what the discussion points were? And the second thing is, it sounds like, and I applaud George for doing this, and you kind of walk the site.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there an opportunity?
Might it be an opportunity to just let everybody know that we're going out on such and such a date to walk the site? I mean, and as long as we don't discuss,
Yes,
the issue at the same time, that maybe we could all do it together, especially if there's other town officials blocking the site at the same time?
So to that point, if you would like to schedule a site visit, then you have to post, because you are a site. So you have to agree upon a time, and coordinating that effort was a bit of a challenge. And it was done during the day, so it will be done during work hours. Unless you do a site walk prior to a meeting, typically where we might conduct a site walk altogether. So think about how you want to address that, and absolutely, you should be on that site. I strongly
We're trying to hold
encourage
them at it. It's a good idea not to surprise them by being on the property when they expect you to be there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, and we are in a state of, we are in transition. And as far as these pre-permitting meetings, these roundtable discussions, what I'm hoping to get is actually written comments back from our department heads, so that you will have comments in writing. So that's what we're working, that's the direction we're going.
That's typically what we've got in the past, is an email from the police chief or the fire chief or their safety officer, okay, with their comments, so we can read it into the record.
Absolutely.
And it is much better if we have them directly than just hearing about them from the applicant. Why that would be, I don't know, but.
My question is, can we be invited to those workshop sessions?
No.
No, I'm sorry, you may not. Those are our, among the department heads, have a roundtable discussion, and
Now, is that something that's just of state of Mass? Because I go to a lot of planning board meetings in other states, and sometimes from time to time, planning board members will be at those meetings.
right, it's a standard practice that municipalities apply. So typically, board members are not at this meeting.
I'll give you my opinion on that. At these meetings, there's a lot of give and take between the developers and the town department heads. And if you're there and participating in that, then you're sort of telling the applicant what they ought to be doing to get on something that you're going to vote on. And to do that basically behind closed doors is not a good idea. Okay, it's,
So to promote greater transparency in government, no.
yeah.
It is what it is, but I don't like it.
I'm sorry.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
No,
It's,
all good.
okay.
One-
And is that as true of the site walks also?
The site walks, you can, again.
I mean, we can't do them as a group, we have to do them without the fire, the police, and anyone else is gonna be going on a site walk?
Again, I think I answered that question. It would have to be advertised as such, that you're
Okay.
assembling on site.
All right, okay.
Because even though you're not supposed to deliberate, you're still on that site, and it could be perceived by a member of the public that you were discussing this project outside of a public hearing. So, and when you post, that means that the members of the public could also go along at this meeting.
All right, okay, gotcha.
And one more question.
I just wanted to clarify, have you guys, has everybody here already toured it, or are we?
No,
is that
I
what we're
have
looking
toured
to
it
do?
with Connie and with the chairman of the Conservation Commission,
And the
Mr.
Department of,
Joyce, and the Department of Public Works, okay? I also am familiar with the property because I walked it several times in the past for other reasons. But yeah, it's a good idea, I think.
Yeah, I'd like to get a better feel
Yeah.
for the area. I mean, I live nearby it, but I
Sure.
want to get a better idea. of
It's
the
just,
actual
as I say,
terrain.
it needs to be arranged with the owner and/or the developer in advance, so that, it's never a good idea to go walking on somebody's property without telling them. Okay?
and we are, just to digress briefly, we are going to be updating our forms, and there is going to be at the bottom of the application form, and it's based upon Massachusetts general law, the planning board has the right to visit the site. So we're going to put that in there so that we have a greater understanding of what you, as a planning board member, are allowed to do when an application comes before you. I mean, you represent the town and the town's interests, so to blindly rubber stamp an application for a proposal, you're not doing your due diligence.
Right.
So if you would like to schedule another site walk, we can start that process. Would you like to go visit the site again? Or for those of you who?
Yeah.
Okay, and we will do that. Do you have a preference as to who you'd like to meet? Do you think you'd like to do this before the next meeting, or do you want to give it a little bit of time? Do you want to maybe?
Before the next meeting with them. Yeah.
Correct, but we can schedule our hearing for 5 o'clock. You can meet on the site, or would you prefer another day and time so that you can assimilate the information, or, you know, get a better, digest what you've observed? And
I'm pretty flexible. I mean,
Yeah.
if we do it before the next meeting, that'd be great. Other than that, I can be pretty flexible.
okay, okay, all right, so we will speak with Mr. Joyce, and someone open that door, it's a public hearing. We'll meet with Mr. Joyce, we'll contact Mr. Joyce and we'll get a meeting time for you.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving right along, let's get into our site plan waiver requests.
Which one?
We got 6 Lee Street. Mr. James Kelly. It's more 6, should be,
Waivers.
yeah,
Mr. Kelly's here.
okay, good.
Okay, waiver site plan review. Property owner is James A. Kelly. Owner address is 6 Lee Street. Phone numbers are listed here. Name of proposed business is James Kelly, DBA, All Seasons Basement Dewatering. Owner of business is James A. Kelly. Business owner's address is 6 Lee Street, East Longmeadow, Mass. Property address is 6 Lee Street, East Longmeadow, Mass. Property district is residential A. It's an allowed use. Proposed hours of operation, this is none at this address, 2 hours per day. The number of employees, including owner, is 1. Date of last parking plan is none. Summary of business operation is basement waterproofing. All work is done off-site. No commercial vehicles, nothing is stored on the site. The application has been signed and dated May 1st, 2018.
Yes, Mr. Kelly is here?
Right here.
Okay, come on up for a second. This is basically a home office?
It is.
Okay. So no commercial vehicles as you put here?
There is none at this time, sir.
Okay, just asking. So, do I have a motion to approve this with the home office allowed use?
I'll move to accept.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're good to go.
Thank you. So I can get my business certificate then at this point?
Yeah.
What's my next step?
Yeah, we will, we'll process, Tracy will process the decision in the next couple days, and
Come and pick it up, I'll call you.
she'll call you to
Okay.
come pick it up.
Please, thank you.
Good luck.
All right, we're all set, gentlemen?
All set. Thank you
And
for coming
ladies?
in.
No worries.
This is approved. $650?
Okay, next we have waiver of site plan review. Property owner is David Priest. Owner's address is 27 Bunker Circle, East Longmeadow, Mass. Phone numbers are listed here. Name of proposed business is Ace Property Consultants. Owner of business is David Priest. Business owner's address is 27 Bunker Circle, East Longmeadow, Mass. Property address is 27 Bunker Circle, East Longmeadow, Mass. Property district is residential B. Allowed use is yes. Proposed hours of operation are 10 in the morning till noon. Number of employees, including the owner, is 1. Date of last parking plan is none. No customer has visits. Summary of business operation is use computer to inform potential customers of landscape modification to enhance the property. Application has been signed and dated May 2nd, 2018.
This is another home office, basically. Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Next is property owner, waiver of site plan review. His property owner is Eric D. Lucas. Owner's address is 121 Mountain View Road, East Longmeadow, Mass. Phone numbers are listed here. Name of proposed business is New England Termite and Structural Repair. Owner business is Eric D. Lucas. Owner's address is same as above. Property address is same as above. Property district is residential A. Allowed use is yes. Proposed hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. Number of employees, including the owner, is 1. Data last parking plan is not applicable. Summary of business operation is termite and wood destroying insect inspections. Application on homes for sale, wood destroying insects and damage repair. Number of commercial vehicles are 2. Amount of product storage is approximately 50 gallons of what?
Termidor,
Excuse me?
Termidor.
Termidor, okay.
Termidor, okay. The application was signed and dated March 6, 2018.
Okay, is Mr. Lucas here?
Yes.
I keep putting this one off because we wanted to talk to you about the vehicles and the amount of storage. Okay,
Yes.
so are you actually keeping the vehicles at the house?
Yes, yep.
Okay, you're not allowed to have 2 commercial vehicles in a residential zone.
Okay.
Okay, that's to begin with. The maximum capacity of a commercial vehicle would be 1 ton, so if it's bigger than that, and it has to be either garaged or somehow or other shielded from the street.
Yes.
Screened, okay.
I'm sorry, screen?
Screened.
So you
meaning-
can't see it from the
So you
street.
can't see it from the
Oh,
street.
it would be in the garage, yep.
Yeah, okay, but you're only allowed 1 commercial vehicle under our bylaw.
Okay.
We also had a concern about storing 50 gallons of pesticide in a residential area. Had a brief contact with the fire chief, who was somewhat concerned about, I don't know if the stuff is flammable or what.
It is not, no.
Okay, but it seems like a lot of pesticide to be having in the residential area. I don't know what your provisions are for dealing with leaks and things like that. Do you have a containment area?
Basically what it would be is the pesticide sprayer is a 50-gallon capacity, but the way the business is structured is that everything that is done, it is off-site. It's basically, if an inspection on a client's home is required, I would get the call, I would head out and take care of that inspection.
Right.
If the insect damage repair was done, I would take care of that off-site. The product or the formulation is mixed off-site. It would be done on the site of where the application was made. At the end of each application, that 50-gallon capacity, there's usually no more than about 25 of mixed product in there, and that's basically used up on the site, and the unit is taken back, or would be taken back.
Yeah. I mean, I'm concerned, obviously, it's probably listed as a hazardous material, okay, I would assume, because it's termite poison, right?
It's actually a general use insecticide that can be purchased, anybody can purchase it. It's a general use product. Where the licensing comes in, or the more specifics, is in the state of Mass to be able to apply it off-site for hire or for residential use.
Yeah, but again, I'm concerned about storage of this in a residential area. If you don't have containment, if you did have a leak, how would you clean it up, that sort of thing.
I do actually have that in the actual garage.
Yeah.
I have vermiculite and
This is the kind of thing that, this is not a home office. And it really, this is not the kind of thing that, in my opinion, ought to be in a residential area. Okay, this is something where you might have it, store the vehicles and material in a self-store area or something like that, rather than in the residential area.
I see.
Again, I'm personally concerned, I was an engineer in a previous life and dealt with hazardous materials all the time, so I know what can happen. And residential areas are not the places to be storing this stuff, okay, in my opinion. But I'll let the rest of the board chime in at this point. How do you feel about this?
Can you just give a better description of, so you have different products that you're storing, and then you take them to a site and do the mixing at the site?
Correct, yeah, I have actual pictures on my cell phone that I took of, if you'd like to review them, or.
You start out.
But yes, it would be, I would order the product from an online supplier. They're shipped by FedEx to the residence. Those products are then taken in the containers, they're in about a 20-ounce bottle. They go in the box, that gets put into the truck. And I believe you were looking for is, those products are then taken and then formulated or mixed on site and then applied.
And what do you mix them with?
Water.
Water.
Yep, they're water emulsions.
Okay. It's just in my mind, this is not what is meant by a home office, which is what we allow in residential areas.
But you don't keep 50 gallons
No.
at your house, like in your residence.
Yeah, I can show you if, would you like this? I can
Sure.
show you, I took a photo. There they are right there. That's basically the whole shebang. It's about the equivalent of a gallon of Roundup or
Yeah.
Pesticide home.
The four products you use.
Yeah.
Those are it right there, correct.
So it's really not 50 gallons, it's just.
That just happens to be, and that was due to my lack of clarification on the application. The rig has the capacity to accommodate that. I'm actually not doing that. That's about the extent of it right there.
So it's typically just 20, 22 use?
About 20 to 25, yep.
So that's the raw material, and you don't add the water to it until you're actually at the site?
Correct.
And mix it?
Correct. It's formulated, and then that sprayer apparatus has an agitator right in the bottom of it. That'll mix it right up there.
Yeah.
And then it's dispersed. Thank you. Yep. And then it's dispersed, and that's pretty much the end of it. The tank is then emptied completely, and then they're back to square one.
Just my concern is just the commercial vehicle, so you need to resolve that issue real quick.
Absolutely. When you say result, like, what would be,
Well,
like the lettering on the
no, as
vehicle?
the chairman mentioned, you can only have one commercial vehicle.
And I can accommodate that.
And it needs to either be in the, permanently, or in the garage.
Yeah, when it's
or
there.
shielded from the street.
Yeah,
And
like
I
behind a
can-
fence or behind an arborvitae's or something like that.
Yep, I actually have a 2-car capacity garage, which that vehicle could stay in at all times.
And it does fit. It's not too tall.
Nope, it's right here. I know it's tough. Pictures get the job done.
I'm just trying to understand where
Absolutely.
this is going.
Absolutely. There's the vehicle right there, or right there.
Okay, so it's a small pickup truck, basically.
Yep,
yeah.
with a utility cap on it.
And they,
Oop.
because I'll get the cost.
There you go.
Oh, no signage, nothing,
No.
nothing to identify
Correct.
your commercial use.
There's no need to, yeah. For my specific application, it's get the phone call, head out to the client's house, get the job done, come back.
What does the second vehicle look like? Is it the duplicate or?
I got that one right here. This is what I use to head out. This is a little 4-cylinder that I use for inspections. Little Toyota Tacoma. I don't know if anybody wanted to look at that or.
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
That's, and they both definitely fit in both garages.
Yeah.
They're both.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's just, under the bylaw, you're only allowed one commercial vehicle in a residential area. Any further questions from the board?
If I was to, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay.
If
I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So you get it, it's 4 to 1.
Yeah.
Okay, I just, personally, it's more than a home office to me, but your waiver is approved, so that's what counts.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
All right.
All
right.
Thank you for coming in. You understand why we wanted to talk to you?
Absolutely. My
To
my
understand.
apologies on that for the delay
Okay,
for the
sure.
appointment. I do apologize. Thank you.
So we'll get you something in writing so that you have that document, okay? So that
I'm sorry,
We'll
you-
get you the waiver approval in writing so that you have that for your records.
Beautiful, thank you. And that would I be contacted to pick that up? Okay. All right, thank you.
Request for waiver of site plan review, Space Realty LLC. Owner's address is 5 Terry Lane, East Longmeadow, Mass. Phone numbers are listed here. Name of proposed business is Scooters. Owner's name of business is Scott Chauser. Hauser? Oh, Scott C. Hauser. Business owner's address is 63 Hillside Drive, East Longmeadow, Mass. Property address is 203 Shaker Road, East Longmeadow, Mass. Property district is industrial. Allowed use is yes. Proposed hours of operation are 7 in the morning to 7 at night, 7 days a week. Number of employees, including the owner, is 1. Summary of business is small engine repair, lawnmowers, snow blowers, etc. Application been signed and dated May 8th, 2018.
Okay, so, are you?
Yep.
Come on up, tell us what you're gonna do. Remind us which building we're talking about.
It's actually just a portion, it's just a portion of a building.
Yep.
The other side of it is, can you hear it, audio?
Okay,
And I'm on the other side, there used to be a tint shop in there,
right,
and all I'm gonna be doing is small engine repair.
okay. It's allowed use in the district. Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
You're good to go.
Thank you very
for
much.
coming in,
Thank you.
especially on a night like this. We have what?
Sign permits.
Sign permits.
Town of East Longmeadow sign permit application dated March 17th, 2018. Business name and address is New Life Church, 317 Westwood Ave. Business owner's address, name and address is New Life Church, 317 Westwood Ave. Property owner's name and address is New Life Church, 317 Westwood Ave. Contact person, telephone number is Drew Dunn, phone number is listed here. Square footage proposed sign is 15. Freestanding, yes. Height above the ground is 6 feet 5 inches. It is not attached to the building. Projection, if any, is none. Setback from the property line is 9.5 feet. Distance to the nearest side yard is 53 feet. Distance to top of sign is 0. It's a permanent sign. It is illuminated. Number of existing signs is 1. Total square footage of existing signs is 20. Number of proposed sign is 1. Square footage of proposed sign is 15. Total square footage of proposed and existing sign is 15. Applicant is Reverend John E. Chase. The estimated cost is $800. A signed affidavit is attached. And that's it.
Okay, so they're replacing a sign with a smaller sign.
Move to accept.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Agree.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
May I address you guys?
Oh, sure. We just approved it, but that's okay.
My name is John Zachary Chase. I'm the
Okay.
assistant pastor at New Life.
Good.
I thank you guys for hearing me. Just a couple quick questions. We, with the proposed sign that we had, originally we had sent a drawing or a sketch of a almost like a flag kind of hanging off. We had an A sign that we didn't realize for a few years or more, that wasn't allowed to be there. It's a clothing drop-off. We were wanting to know if there was any way we could get creative in the future with attaching a different part of the sign or having a different part of the sign to advertise that clothing drop-off. We've seen a lot of success in the town with the drop-offs. It's helped our teens a lot. So we were wanting to know if you guys would have any suggestions for us to look at what we're currently building and be able to give us an idea of what you guys would,
I would recommend that you work with the building inspector.
Okay.
Because he is the zoning officer, the zoning enforcement officer, and the one who makes a determination as to whether a sign is allowable under zoning or not.
Okay.
So he would be the guy to work with.
Okay.
And in the future, we're hoping that he will be the one that approves these sign permits without our having to do it.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet.
Understand.
Okay, so he would be the proper person to talk to.
Okay.
And work it out with him.
And then the other thing that I was told by my boss or dad to address was
God.
yeah, it's a family thing. Was we are now looking to go to solar instead of electric. I know that was something that was addressed we had the lights, the illumination was electric, and that's been there for 40 years, and we realized that that was out of code. So we were wanting to make sure that you guys knew that it was gonna be solar as opposed to electric. So there wasn't gonna be any electricity ran from the sign to either of the parsonages or the building.
So what's going solar, just the sign, or?
No, the lighting, the illumination, so we have, of the lights, so,
Of the building?
Excuse me.
yes, this is Drew Dunn,
Okay.
so.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I had already talked to somebody about that, about pulling a permit for that, because we're gonna have a licensed contractor come in and to set it all up for us. And they said I did require a licensed contractor, and he needed to be the one pulling a permit. So the sign will be illuminated by solar power.
So
Yeah.
the individual lights will have to be solar powered?
Yes, it's gonna be a,
It'll be contained right inside the sign.
Okay,
yes.
so you're not putting in like a ground mounted?
There's nothing ground, no, it's just gonna be a little, probably like four lights, 2 down, 2 up,
Yeah,
and then it's gonna be
and
just a
the
small.
panels are gonna be part of the sign?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
So we
That's
just
between
wanted
you
to clarify.
and the electrical inspector.
Yeah, we
for
just
that
wanted
one.
to clarify, we had talked to the electrical inspector, we just wanted to make sure that everything.
The only time we would get involved is if you're gonna put panels on the roof of your building, because it's that would have to be part of the site plan, okay, and we don't allow ground mounted, solar arrays, if you will.
We need a whole new roof for that, so if you guys wanna contribute to that.
That's in our future plan.
Yeah, used to be,
We will
yeah.
definitely be contacting
Yeah,
down on that.
so,
Okay,
okay, awesome, thank you, I just wanted to clarify those few
I
things.
do have one other question, I just
Yeah.
wanna clarify. The sign was an existing sign to begin with,
Yeah.
and we thought it was okay to go ahead and change it, and that's how we wound up in trouble with the town. So, it's not finished.
yeah.
Do we need to get a licensed contractor now to actually finish the physical, there's a roof that goes on top, and there's the
So-
bottom part of the sign.
I've got a picture of,
We got this here.
Right, the bottom
yes, I
part of the
actually have
sign
a
is
picture
where.
of the current state of it. And that, when the site was, when we were written up for it,
Yeah.
that's now down, so you don't
Yeah.
look at that.
Yeah.
But there's a base around it already, and there's
Yeah.
more that
Wa-
needs
once-
to be done.
Once Tracy processes this and you get the permit, you can go ahead and do it.
We can finish it, and then
Yeah.
the electrician will come in and do all the solar lights.
Yeah.
Is that, so
Okay.
we're okay to do that?
So, as
You
members
still-
of the church, we can actually pull permit and finish the actual construction of it?
Yeah, but you need to talk to the building inspector about it.
Okay.
Okay, awesome.
Okay?
Thank you.
Good. Okay, what do we got here?
Sign permit application.
Yep.
Sign permit application dated April 25th, 2018. Business name and address is Hamden Engineering Corp. Business owner's name and address is Michael J. Flynn, 99 Shaker Road, East Longmeadow, Mass. Property owner's name and address is the same. Contact person telephone number is Michael J. Flynn. Phone numbers is listed here. Chuck Whitcup is also a contact person here listed. Square footage of proposed sign is 85, or is that
8 square
850?
feet, 8 square feet.
Oh, 8.5 square feet?
8 square.
Oh, 8 square feet, I got you. Freestanding sign, yes, engineers did this. Height above the ground is 24 inches, attached to the building is no, projection, if any, is not applicable. Setback from property line is 10 feet, distance to top of sign, vertical wall is 24 inches. It's a temporary sign, it's not illuminated. Number of existing signs is 1, square footage of the existing sign is 88 square feet. Number of proposed signs is 2, square footage of proposed signs is 8 square feet. The application was signed, the estimated cost is $20.
Move to accept.
For how long? Temporary
90
sign.
days.
Sorry?
90 days.
90 days.
90 days it is. Thank you.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Further discussion? So the approval is the temporary sign for another 90 days. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. You're good to go. Thank you.
Oh, see, oh, man, jeez.
I see our building inspector has been active.
I'm sorry, which?
That
were
was
you
Hamden
talking
Engineering.
Hamden Engineering, so it's temporary?
It's a
not
temporary sign. They're looking for a purchasing agent. Okay?
Yep.
Have been for some time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next one.
Town of East Longmeadow sign permit application dated May 8th, 2018. Business name and address is East Longmeadow Wellness Center, 250 North Main Street. Business owner's name and address is KJTS LLC, 1051 Converse Street, Longmeadow. Property owner's name and address is the same. Contact person telephone number is Michael Nordstrom. Phone number is listed here. Square footage of a proposed sign is 2.5 square feet. It is not freestanding. Height above the ground is 32 inches. There's no projections. Setback from property line is 10 feet. Distance to the nearest side yard line is 30 feet. Distance top of sign above vertical wall is 0. It's a permanent sign. It is not illuminated. Number of existing signs is 0. Total number of proposed signs is 2. Total square footage proposed signs is 5 square feet. Total square footage of proposed and existing signs is 45. Total square footage of proposed and existing signs is 45.
You're looking at 3 signs.
There
You're looking
are
at.
actually 3 signs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've got it listed here as 2 signs.
Well, there's a separate application for the other sign.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. So they're putting in entry and exit signs, and they want to put in a large sign in front that identifies it as the East Longmeadow Professional Center and has the tenant names on it.
Estimated cost is $1,200. Sign affidavit is attached, and the application is signed. It is signed.
So this is for
The
the
GNED.
new medical building on North Main Street. That's just getting finished. And the building inspector has determined that these signs are going to be legal, so.
Make a motion to accept all 3.
I have a second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Council on Aging. This is a request for an extension. And this is the sign that, for the East Longmeadow Veterans Memorial at the Council on Aging, which we approved 6 months ago approximately. We approved it for 6 months. They would like it extended. They are asking for a indefinite period. I would recommend that we do this for another 6 months and continue that way until they get to the point where they can get something permanent. Among other things, they're waiting for tax exempt certification from the IRS, which can take who knows how long. So I'll entertain a motion to extend the approval by 6 months from June 19th.
The lowest learner isn't there anymore, so it might, go quick.
I don't know. Yeah.
Could I make some comments, please?
Please.
May I sit down?
Please.
Good evening. My name is Terry Glusko, Chairman of the East Longmeadow Veterans Memorial Committee. And I don't know if the members of the board have seen this sign. I made copies for everybody. But that's the freestanding sign that we have there currently. As stated there, it states a future home, the East Longmeadow Veterans Memorial Committee, or Memorial rather. And it has the insignia of the 5 branches of service on it. And we appreciate when I originally filed the application for the 6-month period. But the reason in the letter that I sent to the board was we were requesting an indefinite period, and I'll tell you why. Is 6 months ago, the committee applied for the 501c3 status. And I had a call from the IRS today, and it's currently in process and being reviewed. And we're hoping that that's going to come through virtually in about 3 or 4 weeks. That will then enable us to go out into the community and start raising the funds. What I'm also going to give you is an actual picture of what the memorial is more than likely going to look like.
Do you need to also apply to the state for a PC?
Yeah, I've already I've already notified the state and the House there that we're going to be seeking funds. The anticipated cost of this memorial is probably going to fall in the vicinity of $225,000 to $250,000. And that's part of the reason I was asking for an indefinite period, because once we get that tax exempt status, it's going to then enable us to get out into the community and start raising the funds, business, dances.
But do you also need to file with the state as a public charity?
Uh,
To register with the state as a public charity?
No, we weren't required, we were just, actually, we had an accountant that actually did our 501c3 application. And he said that that's all we needed to do that.
Okay, having been involved with this before, I would suggest you investigate the state public charity law. I don't know if the veterans groups are exempt or not, but typically, if you're gonna raise money from the public in Massachusetts, you need to register with the Secretary of State as a public charity.
Okay, so that's a state public charity law?
Yeah. I don't know if veterans groups are exempt or not, but I know in general, it's a requirement. So, and that's another file and wait process. I think, you know, we're certainly very supportive of this. I just am, as we talked about earlier with the golf course, we don't like to do things for indefinite periods.
Okay.
Because if something happens and it falls through, which we hope it doesn't, okay,
Right.
we don't get stuck with a sign there that's
Right.
deteriorating or whatever.
Okay.
So I would like to suggest either 6 months or a year.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be more, let's do at least 2 a year.
Okay.
I
so-
appreciate that, yeah, the
I mean,
committee would
It's
appreciate
on
that.
the town
yeah.
property.
It's on the town
and if
property.
it, for some reason, isn't moving forward, the town can always just take it down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
okay. But it just, the concept of indefinite doesn't
yeah.
No, no, I understand that, yeah.
So I'll move
Yeah.
that we
extend it for a year.
extend it for 1 year.
From June 19th.
From June 19th. Is there a renewal fee involved?
No.
No.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Go ahead, John.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so you're good for another year, and good luck with the fundraising.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Appreciate that, on behalf of the committee.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, Pioneer Gymnastics.
Town of East Longmeadow sign permit application dated May 8th, 2018. Business name and address is Pioneer Gymnastics, Inc., 34 Crane Avenue, AKA 45 Maple Street. Business owner's name and address is Danielle McKinnon, 78 Woodbridge Drive. Property owner's name and address is Maple Crane Realty, 98 Green Meadow Drive. Contact person and telephone number is Chris McKinnon. Phone numbers are listed here. Square footage, area proposed sign is 42.75. It is not freestanding. Height above the ground is 16 feet. It is attached to the building. Projection, if any, is 3 inches. Setback from property line is not applicable. Distance to top of sign above vertical wall is 19 feet. The permanent sign, it is illuminated. Number of existing signs is 2. One is 5 by 15, which is 75 square feet. The other is 5 by 15, which is also 75 square feet. Number of proposed sign is 1. Total square footage of proposed sign is 42.75 square feet. Total square footage proposed in existing signs is 117.75. Application has been signed. The estimated cost is $3,500. Signed affidavit is attached.
I'll move to approve.
If I may, the zoning determination sheet wasn't signed by the buildings.
It is stamped at the top right.
No, it's stamped received, but if you look at the bottom of the page, page 2 of the zoning permit determination, the building official didn't sign.
Yeah, I met with Kevin, I don't,
Did he give you,
he handed me that back, yeah, it was stamped and he said it's approved because it's industrial and
A question for you. it says you're gonna paint over the existing non-conforming sign. Is that the big
Yes.
Pioneer Gymnastics on the
Yes.
wall? Okay,
You're upset?
yeah.
I mean, it is a staple in the community, but.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay.
But, so I just refer you to section 5.84, we're in the industrial district,
Yep.
and 5.84 industrial district, F, construction, no sign shall be painted or posted directly on the exterior surface of any wall, including windows and doors.
Sign's older than all
All
of us.
signs must be painted, posted, or otherwise securely affixed to a substantial intermediary removable surface, and such surface shall be securely affixed to a wall of the building. And let's further read, because again, the foregoing, however, shall not prevent installation of a sign by individual letters or devices put into or securely affixed to the exterior wall of a building, provided that such letters or devices have a minimum depth or projection of 1/4 of an inch. The material of the sign and intermediary surface and manner of affixation of the sign to the intermediary surface and of the intermediary surface to the wall of the building shall be subject to the approval of the building inspector for the purpose of protecting it.
So they're putting up individual letters that are channeled, so they will project more than 1/4 of an inch. And-
Okay.
Okay, so they should be fine.
Okay.
Okay.
What color are they gonna be?
White.
So do I have a motion to approve already? Did I get a second on that?
I second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Minutes.
All set.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Can I just ask one quick question?
Yeah.
It's with the scooters thing. What do I have to do as far as being able to put my name on the building?
Talk to this lady.
I just want to put scooters across the top so I
Yeah,
can kind of.
actually, you need to talk to the building inspector,
Okay,
okay? He'll make a determination if what you're proposing is okay.
okay.
So you need to go to him with a proposal with the size, okay?
Yeah.
And what it's gonna be made out of and all that kind of thing.
Okay, because I know there was a lighted sign that was on there before. The
Yeah.
guy that was there took it down. So it's just a big blank spot up there now.
And so you start out by filling out one of these sign applications.
Okay.
You take it to the building inspector, and then he takes it to us, and we go from there.
Okay, so I'd have to come in front of you guys again.
Unless we change the bylaw between now and then, yeah.
Okay. I'm just getting information, thank you.
Okay, good. Minutes of April 17th. Has everyone had a chance to review them? Does anyone have any comments or changes? I have no problems with them. Do you want to put them off until you have a chance to look at them?
I'll move to accept them.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, John, you have to abstain because you weren't here. All those in favor?
Aye.
One abstention. Okay, administrative director's report. Do you want to go through this quickly, or?
Very quickly. So I provided you planner's notes for the meeting. That will help you to recall or review the information that I'm going to share. So very quickly, we have, Jonathan has signed the affidavit under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 9, Section 23D, so he can vote on hidden ponds. Okay, I just wanted to let you know we have a new form. And we have an administrative issue, which is the proposed bylaw change for the sign ordinance that came before you at the previous meeting that went to town council. So at the June 19th, 2018 meeting, the planning board will receive proposed amendments to the town bylaw from the code enforcement officer submitted for section 5, special use regulation, section 5.8 signs. So he had come upon several conflicting elements within the bylaw. So rather than have you prepare the public hearing notice for that which was approved by town council to come back to you, we thought that we would put everything together so that we can update the ordinance. You can have your public hearing rather, and then the ordinance for the sign regulations can be updated or amended, if you will, at one public hearing for consideration, and then, of course, sent back to town council, and then we can move it forward instead of bits and pieces by,
So these do we need to petition town council for these additional changes?
I'll prepare that document for you for the June 19th
Okay.
meeting. Yes, and then we'll go back and forth.
Good, yeah.
Okay. We talked about commercial vehicles last week, and frankly, within the ordinance, you have some definitions already in place. And I think what we might have to do is amend the bylaw where it notes commercial vehicle. So we'll work on that, and again, I hope to have that prepared for you for the next meeting. And that way, we won't have the issue of concern. Essentially, it appears that you're already protected. It's just that there's a little glitch that is not in agreement. So let's correct that before we tear apart the ordinance, if you will.
What's the glitch?
Well, if you look at the definitions, if you look under your definitions in your bylaws, you have a definition for commercial use.
What
In,
page?
8-3 in your definitions. So in your definitions, you have commercial use defined as activity carried out for pecuniary gain. So further on within the definitions, you have a trade vehicle defined. The trade vehicle is a commercial vehicle used in the operation of a home-based trade. So I think what's not in agreement is the table of use that utilizes the term commercial vehicle. So we might want to look at that and quality.
We need to talk about that because the trade vehicle refers specifically to the home-based trade special permit.
And I do have a question about that.
Yes.
Are you allowing any more home-based
No.
trades?
No.
Okay, but you're allowing home-based business, right?
Yeah, home-based offices, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so there's no longer a moratorium, it's simply that that particular section of the bylaw is no longer
Available.
current, right? So
It's
maybe-
no longer available. There was a sunset date put into the bylaw.
Okay, and I did see that, but we might, so, here's where, you still have to find trade vehicle here. It's not an obsolete definition.
Yeah.
But we might be able to take that definition and not try and rework commercial vehicle and find out how we're going to define a commercial vehicle, but simply simplify it so that it's a trade, because that's what it is. It's a trade vehicle used for pecuniary gain.
I think we need to discuss this because the issue has been enforcement, okay? How do you identify a commercial vehicle that is parked in a driveway?
Right, and I think that back to your original bylaw where you allowed for the home-based trade.
No, this is commercial vehicle, not in a home-based trade. We allow one commercial vehicle to be stored on a residential lot in the table of uses.
I understand, but I think what's happening is it's being overcomplicated.
Well,
That's where, and
let's
so
talk about
let's,
it.
so we might want to simplify it, because if you start to stipulate a certain weight, those requirements, a certain license plate that you're wearing, that you've got on your vehicle, I think that that can create a little more confusion than not, because some people use a commercial plate because it's less expensive. So
Well,
we can.
we'll talk about it, because
Yeah.
we have discussed this, and I think you and I need to sit down and have a discussion on this, so that we can put something together to bring to the board, okay?
Right, so I don't, what I'm saying is I don't really have anything for you to consider this evening, is where I'm going, I
right.
think that they're, okay. So we will continue to, that will continue to evolve. I provided for you a handout that was developed by the Citizen Planners Training Collaborative, creating a master plan for your community. Take a look at it. That's actually going to be a primary goal for the planning board, because we need to establish our guidelines for future development. We had a project that came before the planning board that we weren't prepared to receive because we frankly didn't know what direction the town wanted to go in regard to development, future development. So by creating your master plan that was by revising your master plan that was originally created in 1976, you will become current, and I think you'll be able to move forward and then revising much of what might be imperfect in regard to your current bylaw and your subdivision regulations that actually stem from 1962.
So I have a question. So the project that you mentioned, was it tabled? Was it delayed? Was it pulled by the petitioner? What was the formal outcome?
Absolutely. So this was the mixed-use business, both a zoning amendment proposal as well as a development for a mixed-use site. And that was withdrawn without prejudice by the developer. At the Board of Selectmen's meeting,
Town council?
I am sorry, forgive me, at the town council meeting when we had our budget hearing, I think that was April 26th, is that maybe the 26th, so it was officially withdrawn without prejudice. It could come back, but right now, without really getting too involved with that, once you remove a particular parcel from a zoning district designation, you forever lose that. So you might want to be mindful, again, of where you're going with that particular garden business park. Do you want to maintain an industrial or business use in that district, or do you want to help it to evolve into something other than it currently is? So, the master plan. Master plan is very important in developing your guiding principles for your future zoning and development of the town of East Longmeadow. So we will be working on that as we move forward. We'll be looking for funding mechanisms, and I think that there's a lot. We'll then do our public outreach. It's a process that's not going to happen overnight. There's going to be a lot of public input, and if anybody is watching out there in the audience, suggestions, want to become involved, please contact me. I'm Connie Broaders. I'm the Town Planner and Community Development Director for East Longmeadow. Available on the website, and we'll pull you in. So
just to, I hate to prolong the meeting.
That's all right.
But you referenced the section 2 of the charter. Powers and duties of town manager shall prepare in conjunction a long-range plan.
Every 5 years, that's what you're pretty much.
So having sat on the charter commission for a year, my impression that a long-range plan was not the same as a master plan. There were two different things, and that we actually had discussions about that. So I don't think that we want to intermingle those terms. And I would hope that town council would have asked members of the charter commission to what the difference might have been when we were going through this process. Do you recall that there are two different things as well?
Yeah, I definitely recall that they have two different things. A master plan is about planning and land use development. The long-range plan was meant to be more of a guiding document relative to finances, income,
Services,
things like that, okay?
So more of a
capital
planning.
Capital planning.
Yeah.
So they are different. State law requires us to have a current master plan. And they haven't come after us in 40 some odd years, but you know, you never know. But really, we do need to have a master plan. And what?
They will now.
We're not the only town, believe me. We are not the only town without a master plan, a current master plan. It's a major effort. It can be expensive or not, depending on how we choose to go with it. But I agree with Connie, we need to get it done. And the open space and recreation plan, which is getting close to being completed, will be part of it, but there's more to it than that. So,
But I don't want the town manager or the town council to think that this master plan replaces the long-range
no,
plan
no,
and the
that
charter.
was something completely different.
No, that's not, they know that it's not going to, it's a capital plan. It's not, and perhaps by selecting that verbiage, what I was encouraging the board to do was to take a good hard look at the fact that we need to be current every 5 to 10 years, okay? So I met on Monday, May 14th with the Recreational Department Director, Donna Prather, to discuss the open space plan. There were some edits and comments that had been received from others, and she wasn't quite sure where they came from. So we were going to take another look at the document that was produced electronically to see where some of the deletions occurred. And hopefully we'll get that moving forward, because that open space plan will be incorporated in the master plan. Your capital plan comes into effect here also. So take a look at the slides, and I think that it will help you moving forward. I sent you an email about your state ethics training, and if you haven't done your training, please have that certificate to us no later than May 29th. Once you become an employee of the town, be it a volunteer, you have 2 weeks to complete that ethics training, so I'm giving you a pass by extending it to May 29th. And you've probably, I hope, reviewed the open meeting law brochure, and I think we have an affidavit. Did you bring your affidavits? It should be in your packet. If you could sign those and leave those with Tracy, because I'm sure you all reviewed the open meeting law.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But there's no
That's why we don't talk to each other.
There's no signature line on the affidavit, by the way.
I did.
I don't have a, here it is. Acknowledgement of receipt. I, first and last name, hereby acknowledge that I received a copy of the summary of the conflict of interest law for municipal employees on whatever date you received it. So you, George Kingston,
Yeah, but if I put my signature in there, they won't know who I am.
we do.
So we need, I just
This
signed it
came from the
underneath.
state, I take no credit.
Okay.
Why didn't you get one? I don't think.
Here,
You should have one, Lou.
yeah.
I think I have John's folder.
Yeah,
Oh, and-
placed different,
okay.
that's probably
Yeah,
why
that's
you couldn't find the sheet earlier.
Oh, good,
right?
thank
Okay,
you.
all right, so if you'd
I like
sign
that.
those and hand
Not
them on
having to come
down
in
to
to sign
Tracy,
those.
would
I
be good.
thought you might,
And
I'm
how's-
sure, you're still gonna have to come in for the special permit.
You
Yeah,
haven't looked
that's
at it? Okay, you hold on to it until you look at it. Poor John, John got a crash course today.
Yes.
Okay,
How do you do?
excellent,
Good.
good, he's a good learner.
Good.
Did you need this too? It had completed the conflict of interest law?
Yes.
Did you take,
Wow,
yeah,
good
see,
job.
look at you.
Yeah.
We give gold stars to, this is what it looks like.
Frame that, put that in your office.
Okay,
But I did it last year.
Yeah, that's fine.
okay,
All
every
right.
2 years, yep, would you pass that to Tracy? Yep,
Oh, you have to
every 2
do it
years.
every 2 years?
Every 2 years,
Yeah.
yeah, I did mine.
I was gonna do mine this
and I just did
afternoon,
mine.
but
I did
I
it
got
again.
distracted. It was pretty easy to be distracted from that.
If you look on your little cheat sheet,
I haven't seen that
page
commercial
2,
in a while.
new application forms, we're going to be introducing some new forms to help expedite the process, to reduce confusion, make sure you have all your information. when you're reviewing plans. So that essentially when the applicant comes before you, he's going to give and you'll also have a narrative. He's going to give you a synopsis, go over the project, but you'll be better prepared to make your decision, again, sooner rather than later.
Is this new form standard for other municipalities?
I have borrowed it from my previous employment. Yes, every other.
It's on loan. She has to return it.
We are modifying it to read East Longmeadow. Planners are famous for borrowing from other communities because essentially we're short-staffed. So somebody will create something, you put it out on the listserv and say, hey, do you have a form for this? And the next thing you know, you get 10 forms from some other communities. And then they move around the city. So we're in Massachusetts, we all follow Massachusetts general law. We tweak it so that it suits our regulations so we don't have a hiccup. But essentially, we do share our information, and we proudly plagiarize from one another.
We plagiarize with pride.
We do. We're probably the only profession that can do that. So as far as notices from abutting communities, I have those. If you're interested in what's going on in your neighboring communities, you are welcome to take a peek at those. They will be available in the planning department for the public. And I think we are good, and I thank you for listening to me make this presentation.
Thank you. Your time is valuable to us.
Yes.
Intellectual pride.
Your time is valuable to us. And I think that I don't know, I can't say it enough. Your volunteer efforts are so appreciated. And to have you sit here twice a month, you must have other things that you might want to be doing on a Tuesday night. I can't imagine that every other Tuesday you're looking with glee to be at this.
What am I going to do the other 13 nights?
I know. Okay. So anyway, your time is so much appreciated, and we're trying to make it more efficient for you and less confusing and more streamlined, and likewise for the applicant, because if they get sent back and forth for one more thing, time, they're developers, their clock is ticking.
Believe me, I know.
Okay, all right.
Firsthand.
Yeah.
I'd just like to second that and say that we are changing procedures and forms, and it's a change for the better. Okay, things were done a certain way for many, many years. They're going to be improved, and I would ask the applicants to work with us to learn about the new procedures and to work with Connie particularly to get things figured out, because they are different. And if you just come in thinking like you're going to submit something like you did 2 years ago, you may be a little surprised, but that's good.
Thank you. And I don't pull rabbits out of a hat. These have all been standards of practice in other communities in Massachusetts specifically. So, there's a model, there's a precedent, and that's the way we're all going.
Yep.
So thank you.
Any other business to come before the board?
Move to adjourn.
A second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:17.